All right, so working in, for no reason at all, reverse chronological order, going to be reviewing Cloud9 versus Golden Guardians. Hello, I'm Rojo, and Cloud9 lost 0-2 during this week, and this was the first game they actually had. So, having already done the ESM game, going to look at how Golden Guardians managed to pick up a win. Okay, so in the draft, let's take 30 minutes for no reason in the draft. Golden Guardians, they ban away Olaf, all fine and good. Karma is a really strong first pick, but obviously if a team is unwilling to pick it, then that's very indicative of left click really doing wonders for me. The Karma being banned on blue side is indicative of the fact that the team doesn't really want to play it. I guess this makes sense. Not really a Licorice or Niski champion. It could be a Vulcan champion. But hey, probably not worth your first pick when Volibear and Set are available, which seems to be the absolute highest priority. And then the Caitlyn ban. Is all well and good. Nothing too exciting there. Just get rid of fairly strong AD carry in the meta. Although again, that is potentially a champion you could first pick. She's just fairly strong. Doesn't really have any losing matchups right now. So there's some danger when you look at the way that Cloud9 are banning and drafting. There's some iffy things, and those are just two pieces already. Sona ban. I don't think that there's any reason to do that. They're clearly not able to play the Sona Lux lane. The willingness to do it does not mean that they're proficient at it. They were very impatient with using it. It doesn't necessarily provide priority. It's prone to getting killed if you're not careful with it. So, bunch of issues with that. Then you have the Galio banned away, which is unfortunate because Niski fairly proficient at using Galio, but if he's not able to, I guess if they're not willing to first pick it and they think that Demonte is gonna take it up early, maybe. I mean, it seems weird. I don't know if this is necessarily a ban that they had that much forethought in, but maybe they did, and I'm not fully aware of Demonte's champion pool. And then, of course, you look at the Sona and the Italy. Touched on Sona. Doesn't really make sense to ban it against a team that was clearly fairly unpracticed on it, or at least looked to be unpracticed on Sona Lux. And then Nidalee, I mean, sure, it's a carry style jungler, so it makes sense you'd want to get rid of carry style champions from Blabber. So, sure, I guess. Although I don't think we've seen it, and also it kind of requires things from your team that you don't just like pick Nidalee, right? You have to see. I feel like you have to kind of see what the opposing team is trying to do, and also set up your laners to have specific conditions. You can't just pick Nidalee, at least not in a competitive game.
Revive the different strategy that is Sona in the bottom lane with another AP champion. We all know what Sona does when she works her way back into the meta. It's not fun for anybody, and Golden Guardians
and there it is. My favorite first pick.
Banned away, Olaf and Nidalee banned away, also
that
focusing on the aggressive jungle options there for Blabber. Karma, Caitlyn, Galio,
definitely is not what I like to see. Touched on it quite a lot in the TSM game, it just feels like it doesn't do anything. Like every time I see it do something, it's like, well, any champion could have done that. Maybe I'm being a little unnecessarily harsh. It just feels like there's more that you could do, and it because it doesn't really flex, it doesn't get flexed as much because no idea honestly. Um, hmm. It's a good flex pick for 3 roles if you're gonna if 4 roles almost, yeah, 4 roles you could pick it uh uh, top, jungle, mid, and support. So I mean sure, but if this is support set I'm all for it, but if it's jungle set I'm not for it. And it's kind of almost where it just gets shoehorned in, like, oh well, just throw it in the jungle. We don't want to use it. The other roles. And then Callista, which has lost its flex pick, is just a strong bottom laner, very strong bottom laner. Almost certain to be able to outbully anyone. And the Volibear just matches the set. It's kind of in the same area where I'd rather it be a top laner, but it just ends up being the jungle because that's just where it ends up being. Um, Felios, glad that it's not been completely forgotten on this patch. It makes sense now that when you look at the bans, you look at Karma and you look at Caitlyn, especially when you consider that they were going to first pick Set. So if you think that they're always going to first pick Set here, which the bans seem to indicate that, uh, then of course you can't leave up Karma and Caitlyn because they have a very good matchup into Felios. Also, Karma is a very strong, just flex pick in general. Probably stronger than Set, but if your team prioritizes Set over Karma, I can see getting rid of it. And then Nautilus, whatever. Kind of a takeaway from the Callista because she wants tankier supports, but I mean this is not a tankier support. Are we seeing? I mean, I'm loving the increased presence of Morgana. I think that she's vastly underappreciated the entire season for no reason. Has good matchups into the tanks that were extremely prevalent, and he's just super efficient at taking away strengths from opposing teams. Okay. So there's the Shen band away. It's a good protection option for the Aphelios. If that becomes your primary carry, then it's very good. Um, I'm actually not entirely sure how the matchup for Shen versus Volibear works, so maybe there's also some indications of where this Volibear ends up going. Twist Fate. Okay. And then Kale.
Also, the Kale banned away by the Golden Guardians. So
if I knew Volibear matchups better, this would tell. I feel like this tells me that Volibear is going top, but I don't know for certain because I don't know the matchups well enough, and I especially don't know the competitive matchups because it doesn't get put up top lane enough in competitive games. LeBlanc banned away. Okay, so there's a couple of weird things. Okay. Oh. It's gonna be one of these things with the left click, huh? All day. All right. So LeBlanc is interesting because they're thinking. What kind of draft do they think that Golden Guardians are gonna have? Like let's disregard this for a second. Um, Twisted Fate gone, Blanc gone. These are two very roam-oriented mid laners. So they must. So Cloud9 might be thinking about picking a top laner that doesn't enjoy being roamed on, Also, of course, Aphelios is vulnerable to being roamed upon. Um, but not as much with Nautilus. Uh, hmm, interesting. I mean, they got rid of. I mean, just look at the last 3 bans that they got rid of. Roaming ultimate, uh, high mobility assassin. That's within the meta as well. So, there are other assassins that have good mobility, but they're just not within current meta. Um, hmm. So there must be something that Cloud9 are trying to prevent, and I cannot imagine what it is. What champion? Is it all just to protect Aphelios? I feel like you must be picking a specific top laner if you want to go this route, like a very vulnerable top laner. Hale is vulnerable up until she hits 6. Yeah. But and even once she hits 6, if you play it right, she's just as vulnerable. Shen, I mean, it's part of this protection, right? Part of the we're trying to protect Aphelios, so it must be an attempt to protect Aphelios. And Cloud9 scouting that Golden Guardians are looking towards playing uh, heavily against the bottom lane.
So Golden Guardians,
Okay.
like the two
Bard
things
is
that
actually
really
really
happened
strong
with
into
comp around early
Aphelios,
game
by the way.
around stacking dragons and around that dragon control are obviously
Sion is
getting that
less
ult down to that bottom side, being a premier case,
dangerous
and
into Aphelios.
the split push, which Kale, like they don't want a
There must be
Kale into
some.
top lane matchup
What
where a
are they
Kale can
seeing?
scale up into a
What top
dangerous
laner did
split
they
push
scout
because
that
as you can
Licorice
see
was going to play?
in the Sion here, that is some actually
That
very good
Sion is
damage,
really
even
good
though it can be
into.
very funny when
And
Sion does miss the later ultimates and doesn't hit them, but the cooldown is so
okay,
low. And combined with
Zoe's
the
fine. I
quality
actually
of
thought
the
that Zoe
Sion
might have been
towers,
picked up
you
by Golden
remove a lot of
Guardians because it's
the
another
punishment
decently
of
high
having to be
mobility
kind of one of those
map
creeps.
impacting
But this is a
mid laner.
straightforward
Not to the same degree
two
of
train style
LeBlanc or
starting
Twisted Fate
comp here where
or
they
Galio.
are just running
Gangplank.
down. I love it. We get to
Gangplank
see
is not as
Zoe picked
vulnerable
up here from this
as he does not.
as well. Gangplank
He also
lovely for
absolutely
Cloud9
destroys
as this
Sion.
set will be
So the
coming
pick
into
doesn't
the
even. Oh.
jungle. And we'll see if they decide to lock that one in. Nope.
Oh. Huh. Doesn't he do well into? He does well into Sion. He has to. Okay, and then Syndra is really strong into Zoe. I feel like if you're Cloud9, you take the Syndra to prevent Zoe, right? Although I guess the matchup's probably become much closer than it used to be because of the Syndra nerfs. Um, I don't know if I can make sense of this. Because think about this, right? So you now have 3 people who are just trying to walk at people. Person who is effectively never actually supposed to get into a fight. And then someone who wants people to walk into him. So if we go back to a concept that I use to help me understand compositions and congruency within compositions, uh, go in, okay. Go in, don't go in, don't go in. Primary carry, primary carry. Your primary carries are doing something different entirely from what the rest of you want to do. An example of a carry that does go in would be like Kaisa, or Zaya has her own protection. Caitlyn can outrange people, so she doesn't necessarily need, as much gap closing. Aphelios has no gap closing ability whatsoever. So even if he wants to be aggressive, people still have to walk into him, or he has to put himself in harm's way majority of the time. There's just no way he's going to be safe into what these three. Yes, this plays right into Aphelios. Okay. Yes, this Sion plays right into Aphelios. Volibear plays. Gonna be the whole. It's gonna be this whole thing. All right. Oh, yep. Volibear plays right into Aphelios. The problem is he can't play into Syndra. So if he walks up, he gets killed by Syndra. He can't play into Morgana because he'll just get binded. In fact, all of these champions are playing horrendously into Morgana. Morgana is a really strong pick into these two already, and now you've stuck your jungler on a champion that's never going to be able to go in because of Morgana. On top of the other, anti-initiation from Kalista, there's some defensive options from the Volibear, from Sion even. Sion actually can play defensively because he's a tank and he's more disruptive. He's not really damage focused. Doesn't really care about getting onto a backline. Um, you'd like to, I guess, but he can play back with his carries and protect them more so than Trundle can. Set is capable of doing this as well, but by nature of what he does, he actually ends up not being as defensive in some regards. They're both kind of. These are both obviously. Sion wants to go in, be as optimal as possible. Uh, so it does kind of play poorly into Aphelios and Zoe, but I guess it's fine. It's a weird pick. I don't know. It just feels like what I wouldn't. I don't know. The Trundle is really throwing me off because I mean there just isn't any. This seems like a typical Cloud9 draft actually when I look at it, but the way that it was picked, the order in which it was picked, as well as the I mean just overall, it just feels bad. I guess if they get ahead, it's fine, but that's if they get ahead. They have to get ahead. Otherwise, they're never going to be able to play into Morgana. They'll never be able to play into Syndra. And I don't know if they have the tools to get ahead, other than their own innate ability, being better players.
Instead, Sion is
Let's let things get in order.
with more unless the game moved earlier. The one thing that Trundle's also
and all right, one final look at everything. You have to imagine this is. It's probably even. It's probably actually not that big of a. It probably is even on top side. Jungle matchup is whatever. I mean, Trundle is actually good into both Sion and the Volibear, so there is value in Trundle. There's just why do I want? Why am I playing Trundle? So there is actually extra value in playing Trundle. It's definitely more value than playing Set Jungle. So I suppose I can't be too upset about it. Syndra probably wins this matchup, but probably closer than it used to be. And I can't imagine any other world other than Kalista and Morgana being able to do whatever they want in this lane. So you have your bottom side of the map is already looking pretty poor. I feel like as Trundle and Volibear, you just want to clear as much as possible. But if you let the lanes play out, they're not necessarily positive for you for Cloud9. Hmm. Syndra is vulnerable. If Syndra is actually pretty decently vulnerable. So maybe you could do a cheeky level 2 or level 3 early gank on Syndra because of her lack of mobility, but that's. I mean, I can't imagine Trundle being able to really get anything off without some horrendous mistake happening. Then again, on the flip side, I don't know what the Volibear is actually going to manage to do. So, find out.
Of doing is you were talking about
with your 2 punches.
yeah.
It basically counts as an ability. So his
It looked like a 5-point start with a late invade from Cloud9. They're just going to walk in and take the red buff.
Here we go. It's
All
Licorice and
fine
Blabber
and
starting up the red buff.
dandy.
It's DeMonte showing up now
Everybody
as
out!
well.
Interesting. I'm actually going to go I'm actually going to go 2 times.
Golden Guardian's looking for the collapse. Blabber and Licorice are able to just walk towards Haunter and get away because Haunter knows he will get the snot beat out of him by Trundle and Set put together. Both these champions are very strong at level 1.
Then they get shoved off because of the position that Closer and Hunter had. So I guess it's all fine. I would imagine that Volibear red side is always going to do the exact same thing. In fact, I don't even think it matters. I think really side agnostic. Doesn't really matter. Okay. Okay. That's actually not super great, actually. Taking tower shots is not good. Oh, but I guess he's set, so he can regen without necessarily losing too much. Okay, he can't back off of this. So I don't know what he's sitting in the bush for. Okay, everyone did the full clear. Great, everything's fine. Actually, Blabber went to red before he went to Raptors, so I guess you get some regen off the red, and you're already trading across the map anyway, because you know where Volibear started, and Volibear doesn't really have a way of crossing through the mid lane to the other side. Blabber actually ends up getting Krugs too, so this is pretty good. This is not something that Closer is doing, so this is an advantage for Blabber. He actually is up in tempo, up in gold, but Closer is also going. What the hell? What did he need that for? Was it that timing sensitive that he needed to help clear that wave? I wonder. Right, and that's what's gonna happen every time. You're just gonna get black shielded, preventing anything from happening. This shouldn't work. It's going to work. All right, cool. It's not gonna work. It did work. Okay. I don't know. I don't know. Wait. Wait. Oh no, his ward was just about to come up. It's actually really well timed by Licorice and Blabber then. When you because his ward was soon gonna come up, so he was actually gonna be able to avoid this potentially. And Closer actually didn't help him shove the wave in. You notice here he is. So he helps shove in. Oh, why am I still? So he helped shove in Syndra in mid lane, but he didn't go top lane to shove in the wave there. And because Blabber is up in tempo, he can come topside and actually take advantage of that. So, well played. Okay, nothing's gonna come from this. That's just a waste of health and mana. I mean, you literally are just throwing that out, hoping that someone. Yeah, he walked forward. I don't know. Licorice made that as obvious as possible, and Haunter still walked back into him.
So that wave in such a good spot for Licorice, Hunter knows like, okay, there's nothing I can do. He's just kind of walking up for experience. Unless you
gonna be this all game. I'm just not gonna be able to use my left click properly. Fine. Ben is also forced to go the cleanse because of the Morgana and the Syndra and the WoW. What? What?
All your jungler, that's just fully in favor of Licorice, and Licorice getting into push towards him like that, bouncing it off the tower, prepping it for Blabber. These are the types of things where we see the coordination from Cloud9 with Blabber to set him up for these really effective ganks. The only way Alpha Hunter would have been flashed early, stun.
Okay, I see what happened. Polar Bear just skipped all of his camps. I don't know what he's been doing for the last like minute. He went to base, didn't help Hanser push in the wave, so he actually forced Hanser to die. Well, not really, but he was a contributing factor to Hanser dying. He comes onto the map and beelines it right to mid. Skips all of his camps. Doesn't even care. So yeah, I can see why. I guarantee you, Blabber's coming across here. You saw him. He just crossed this part of the map. He just went around like this. I promise you, he's telling Niski, you know, he's on his walls or something. He's on his walls or Gromp. So I suppose well played, because it was definitely something that Niski wouldn't have expected, or anyone would have expected, because he skipped literally everything to do that.
Yeah, perfect landing right there.
And then he gets free Raptors.
Already there, flashes in, gets the Q's done, answers back really quickly. By saying, you know, Hunter, he could, whenever you're against set, you gotta think about where the minions are.
That's he's like hard rewarded for skipping all of his camps. And then he gets bottom Scuttle Crab. He was so rewarded by that play. I can't even imagine. Look what he, well, I actually want to know what he was doing. I want to know what he, wait. I missed him killing a ward. Niski, what the hell are you doing? Okay, hold on. So I want to watch. So 5-11 comes. He wards his. No, he doesn't. He goes to red side for no reason. Maybe because he thought. Oh, maybe he was looking to help Hanser. I don't know. And then he goes down, kills a ward, gets scouted. They know. And then just gets flashed on and dies. Okay. I didn't think. Alright. This went from closer, just like he outplayed them by doing what was unexpected, to Niski was just really greedy to kill the minions, I guess. Anyway. That's a little
Yeah, perfect landing right there. As soon as that Cinder Stun is about to end, Closer's already there, flashes in, gets the Q's done, answers back really quickly. By saying, you know, Hunter, he could, whenever you're against set, you gotta think about.
He also, they would have known, they should have absolutely known what level Closer is. So Blabber should have been pretty confident in contesting that area. So I don't know. That's just weird. So I cannot believe Closer was rewarded for this. Puts down a ward, literally just beelines it right to mid, flashes on him, kills him, gets Raptors, gets. What do you do? What do you even do as what do you say as Blabber?
You ever play an MMO, you accidentally walk into a high level zone that's right next to the zone you're supposed to be in? Instead of levels. Yeah, that's exactly what Blabber just did. All the enemies have
That's painful.
You need to just get the hell out of town because Closer is not having none of that. Just continue to farm up here on this bear. Both junglers are responsible for the 2 kills that have happened here so far.
Wait.
There of a single orb stun. The top side of
Okay.
But Closer was clearing a ward before this. You can see there's 4.
I want to figure out. No, I can't. I guess I can't figure out. I think he did Gromp and then backed.
Hitting the smaller skill shot there of a single orb stun. Just drop them all down.
Yeah. No.
Welcome. So Trundle, you try to keep him right there on him. Couldn't pull him back to stun him there, and then
What?
Offside of the lane here.
He did Gromp What? What is it? What is this path? Is it so advanced that I just haven't the slightest idea what he's doing? He okay, so he went Raptors. So here's his path. He went straight to this ward that he didn't know existed until he walked to it. Killed it. Got the mid lane kill. Did Raptors. Got Scuttle Crab. went to Gromp, walked all the way over to his Raptors to, I guess, prevent. But he's gonna be behind, or maybe he doesn't care. Oh, you know what? Okay, wait. Okay. So he doesn't need to necessarily care about tempo because it's his. Okay, in this case, he can forego the tempo from backing and then maybe being able to get something on the bottom side, right? Because his bottom side is perfectly fine in its own. So, and he wanted to prevent Blabber from being able to contest his Raptors, I guess, which he wouldn't have known was a thing that was going to happen. Other than just, but not even.
But he hugged it right next to Demonte. So he's like, welcome into my awaiting arms here. Just
That's actually.
power. Yes, a bunch of orbs on the ground for the easy stun. You'll love to see that. Before this, and Niski knew
I can't tell what the exact setup is, but it's actually really interesting.
Right next to Demonte. So he's like, welcome into my awaiting arms.
So Closer didn't intend on just like. No, he definitely did. By the way, wait.
So he can't get any of the abilities off to proc it and chase you down. But Closer was clearing a ward before this.
Because when we go back to replay, he's waffling around mid lane instead of. I thought he curled around the Wolves and went to Raptors. He waffled back around mid lane to prevent. He basically prevented this from being a target. So I mean, it's not waffling. He's actually there's a purpose to it, but he actually also prevents his red from being taken because they noticed that Licorice went into their red side. Okay. It actually was more advanced than I gave it credit for. Not efficient, but actually okay. Arguably, the better play is probably. I guess no, this is fine. No, this is fine. That's fine. And it doesn't need to be too worried about the tempo for Dragon or Rift Herald, because his lanes are doing just fine on their own. As well as he already has the advantage anyway.
Yeah, I think they're a big reason why this team is currently sitting at 7-7, doing a lot better than some of the other teams that had rough starts here early on in the summer split.
So what Closer's thinking. So this is actually this went from I have no idea what he's doing to all right. Um, but that's why you do these. Okay, you can't just like sit there and accept the first thing you're doing. You have to take in everything that they're taking in and then figuring out what they're actually looking at. So they know, or Golden Guardians know that generally speaking, the dragon is not a legitimate objective for Cloud9. The real advantage for Cloud9 is on top side, which means, or the real potential advantage is on top side. I mean, we look at the farm advantage and look at the farm advantage on the other side of the map, right? So it's not as bad on the bottom side, but the clear advantage is on top side. So the dragon isn't a legitimate target for Cloud9, which means that Golden Guardians can move in such a way that allows them to prevent Cloud9 from taking Rift Herald rather than bothering with the dragon. So while it's going to be a late first dragon by North American by LCS standards, it's fine because it's actually not as fine. Because the truth is, that instead of doing the waffle around mid lane, you can seed pressure by the Syndra, give up your top side to take the dragon. And because you're the team with the Kalista, who is going to be your primary DPS, who does not scale anywhere near as well as Aphelios, you generally want to shorten the game, and the best way to shorten the game is by taking dragons. Because of the end game buff that you can get at 25 minutes. So in reality, let's look at that again. I want to go back to that buff. So it went from I've teetered now from that's not great to that's actually pretty good to not great. They could have seeded. No, because you can't. Haunter's in such a bad spot that if Closer does make that play, seeding topside, I mean, Haunter's just dead. Just 100% he's dead. They literally can't do anything. If they give up topside for Dragon, they're going to gain. Cloud9 are going to gain an advantage on topside, even bigger than they already have, and they're probably going to be able to take the Rift Herald for free. So this is a tough spot. If Haunter was in a better matchup, then I think the C topside for Dragon is a viable option. But I think this is also a completely legitimate line of thinking for Closer and for Golden Guardians in general. But I mean, the disparity is just insane. I don't even know how much of this is like a skill gap. I think it's honestly like the matchup is bad. So, and also he died early. I guess if you reverse engineer it, you could kind of blame Closer for that, maybe. But then in this particular instance, going to topside to prevent Trundle from being on the on his red, I don't know why I just being on his red, and then not necessarily getting the dragon, even though it actually benefits your team rather significantly, because I mean it's a Mountain Drake with 2 tanks, as well as speeding up the Kalista timer, or I guess shortening the game time to, I guess, is that even artificially speeding up Kalista? It doesn't speed up Kalista. It just shortens the game time, which helps Kalista function properly in the game. I think they have to be kicking themselves on the Scion pick, because the overall game plan is for the early game is significantly better without Scion weighing them down. But then, I mean, when they're stuck on this position, I think that this is fine. So maybe you could go back and you could say, okay, Closer could have done something better to help Haunter, which then would have translated to getting a dragon. But the play that he was presented with at this exact time, without considering the previous plays, is the better one. Is probably the better one that he had available.
Soak up most of the rest, but another good amount of pressure earned from this Golden Guardians bottom lane, which has started to get a lot more praise as we moved on through the summer split. FBI and Huhi,
importantly, he somehow. Oh, I guess because he didn't get the kill. So, Blabber got the kill. Okay. I don't know if he needed to kill all of those. I don't know, actually. Yeah, I don't know. It shouldn't necessarily be given away. How did they get this? So they're thinking. So Golden Guardians' thinking was they're bound to go for topside because that's where their real advantage is. they actually went the opposite for Cloud9. Cloud9 actually went the opposite way.
C9 with half the health already off that Drake. As Golden Guardians contemplate getting closer. And speaking of the man himself, here comes the
It's rather precarious. Closer getting the smite is really, really good, obviously. And they all just get out. They actually get a kill on Aphelios. I'm not entirely sure why. Or why FBI died. Or why more people are dying. This is just completely separate calls.
Flashes on him. He didn't even get the stun on the E part there, but got his other auto off before FBI flash. And if you get an auto started before the flash goes off from your opponent, unless they flash into Fog of War out of vision, your
Let's watch this fight. Normal speed.
damage will go through. First of all, though, what do you do?
So Closer gets the smite.
Slaps your dragon. Huh, Flowers? Because he just walked up with a black shield, yoinks the dragon,
Okay.
and looks like he's going to walk out of there with the spoils, too. Knockup does go down, and Cloud9.
Yeah, this is two completely separate calls. This and this. These two are not. These two groups are just not on the same page. Because they got out. They're fine. They did it. They got the dragon. They got out. Perfect. Play. Crisis averted. Everything's great. It's a delayed dragon. But it's okay. Right? And then you. Okay, they didn't set up any wards on the top side actually. Oh. Okay, well they should. Morgana went to top side, so I don't know why. I don't know how this happened. I think it's Huhi. I don't understand what the logic is. Just putting down a ward on the Herald pit and just being like, all right, good enough. Walking out and beelining it straight here, and then putting down wards on a side of the map that you're not going to use after immediately 30 seconds later. I mean, these could have been on the other side of the map and been beneficial. It, I mean, I guess it's fine. It's not egregious. I understand the thinking because you want to deny vision with the control ward. You want to make sure that your approach isn't necessarily known. But also, I mean, the way that Cloud9 played this was really rather sloppy because they also didn't set up vision, as far as I'm aware. They just walked it. They just were like, oh well, just take it. They just assumed that they had no actual reason to think that this was available to them. By the way, I haven't the slightest idea what is the logic on Cloud9. Hmm. They can't burst it fast enough, and it just is almost certainly going to be a 50-50 if they ever show up, which they're bound to. Like, okay, let's say it actually works out for Cloud9. Let's say they get the dragon. Okay, well, they're not gonna get the kills, and let's assume that they get the dragon, and then Golden Guardians don't try to kill Aphelios, and then end up giving kills back. If that doesn't happen, right? I mean, they really just walked over and said, "All right, well, I mean, they're not here. Fuck it, just take it." It's a weird. It's a weird. Hmm. because it clearly in Golden Guardian's mind, Cloud9 don't think they can take that. There's no way. There's no reason that they think that they can just walk over to the dragon and take it, but they do. Um, Also, if you look at this fight, so you actually see that Zoe got chunked out super hard, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, Closer making the moves, but now the fight is not stopping. Closer trying to walk
You could
himself away.
argue.
The flies through. The defensive
No.
the Golden Guardians jungler as FBI grabs
I
the
think it's
first
just all
kill of the
greedy.
fight on the back end there. Vulcan down below half HP, but FBI likely going to be taken down here by Licorice. The last punch grabs him there on the very back end of the fight, and Licorice is just not stopping.
So they end up trading same amount of kills, which I guess benefits the Callista. The Callista team.
In these fights, and nobody is going to tell him what to do. This guy grabs himself 2 in a 1v4 and salvages this fight here for Cloud9.
Licorice straight out of Fight Club just dunks FBI into the back lines. Flashes on him. He didn't even get the stun on the E part there, but got his other auto off before FBI flash. If you get an auto started before the flash goes off from your opponent, unless they flash into Fog of War out of vision, your 10 minutes will go through. First of all, though, what do you do when Closer walks up and slaps the dragon? Hot flowers? Does he get walked up with a black shield, yoinks the dragon, and looks like he's going to walk out of there.
I feel like you just have to be willing to leave. Like I don't think you need to go for this play. I don't understand. I don't know if this is if the call was like, oh, okay, we're gonna turn after leaving, but or or they already made a call to turn, but they in the moment went for the exit. I don't know who just took the. I guess Blabber walked over to the priority and like common sense. Apparently, maybe my common sense is just too limited thinking. Because it feels like Cloud9 just walked up to objectives and were like, ours. Yeah, that's ours. Without even like any care in the world. Also, I mean, Licorice was alive at the end of that fight. So when that happens, when they actually force the dragon play, they end up freeing up the Rift Herald almost necessarily. So that actually could have gone. I feel like normal best case scenario for what the hell happened? Alright, cool. Kind of. Normal best case scenario. Let's say that playing absolutely perfectly. Blabber gets the smite. So they get the smite, and then they convert into Rift Herald after that fight happens.
And for the few people out there who might not be aware, remember Aphelios with Crescendum is the one instance in the game where standing closer to a target actually makes you attack faster. So that's why every single Aphelios just stands point blank range next to the turret, slaps it around with the boomerangs, and gets such high.
But then, so if we look back, I feel like this all comes down to that early gank and the lane difference that's going on in topside. Because if it's not as bad, I feel like Closer just takes Dragon in that exact same spot. And then it's no longer an objective, and they can transfer their attention to topside more easily. Whereas in what ended up happening, you have a scenario where because the dragon is just available, and because they went on a reset, and because Cloud9 do it quickly enough, they potentially could have gotten the dragon, could have gotten Rift Herald based on the play that Golden Guardians went for, and it would have been horrible for Cloud9. It ends up just being pretty good because they get the Rift Herald, they get the first tower. They get to stay up in these kills.
And nobody is going to tell him what to do. This guy grabs himself two in a
Cloud9 just had on the bottom half of the map. Dragon still went for Golden Guardians, though. So.
Right, Demonte is 2-0-0 here on this mid lane Syndra. It's him and FBI that have the two highest CS values in the game. So both Golden Guardians carries.
This play happens
FBI just now completing his
for seemingly no reason.
Golden Guardians is ready to go. Ida Herald bot this game. They're only down a couple hundred gold with that Mountain Drake secured for him. It kind of shores up that little bit of a disadvantage. But Blabber is bottom. Shelly is ready to go. Ida Herald summoned up. Haunter could be in some trouble. The dive might be going through here. They stop the ulti coming out from Haunter, but Golden Guardians are bringing in their own jungler. Closer's looking for the damage. The set ulti comes through in the Haymaker.
Like, if Closer just walks into lane,
Once he goes back and shops and puts that tier together with the lost
he could
so
prevent
Guardians is definitely
them from diving Hanser.
with that Mountain Drake secured for him. It kind of shores up that little bit of a disadvantage. But
Instead,
Blabber's
they were
bottom.
like, no,
Ida Herald summoned up. Haunter could be in some
we
trouble.
go for a
Dive
play.
going through here. They stop the ulti coming out from Haunter, but Golden Guardians are bringing in their own jungler. Closer's looking for the damage. The set ulti comes through in the Haymaker, but they take him down. The shutdown play goes over to Closer. Blabber makes sure it's a 1-for-1 there, but now Niski's got to get himself away in the 1v3. Damage continue to come through. Demonte and Huhi looking for it, and Demonte's got his third kill of the game.
Golden Guardians will take over the bottom half of the map. Now it's a race for.
I feel like this doesn't really help
Cloud9.
Cloud9. I mean, they're going to end up getting
Way through with Crescendo.
this tower.
Gonna annihilate them as the turret plates fall at
Now the
40%.
advantage
The
is
turret plates first, and then
1.2,
with, plating all falling at the end, they
1.2k.
tower for the first tower bonus gold on top of it.
And for the few people out there who might not be aware, remember Aphelios with Crescendum is the one instance in the game where standing closer to a target actually makes you attack faster. So that's why every single Aphelios just stands point blank range next to the turret.
I don't know, this doesn't. This feels
Yes, one of those objectives. Easy secure there for Cloud9.
like a
1,000 gold.
bad
My eyes are on Demonte right now.
Cloud9 game, but everything seems to be going slightly worse than what they would be used to in like the first half of their split. But it seems to be pretty typical. And then again, I mean, there's a team on reset, they just take the dragon. All right, what is this camera? What was that? You can give me motion sickness watching LCS? That was a little okay. I think I understand what they were trying to go for, but that was a little excessive. Maybe it was because it's 2 times speed, so it's probably just worse than it actually is. Okay, there's no actual play to be had. The wards don't actually matter. Closer is defending his mid laner. I mean, there's nothing else he could do. I guess he could go get the Krugs, but that's not super efficient. Probably just ends up getting Raptor's Krugs here. Maybe, yeah, he gets Krugs. I don't think he has anything urgently buy that he wouldn't want Krugs for. He's gonna stay on the map for some reason. Because the Rift Herald is spawning soon. I feel like he doesn't actually need to stay on the map. I mean, I wonder how much he actually has sitting. He only picked up 2 camps in the last like minute. I guess he doesn't really have that much to buy anyway. He at most gets like a reward, but it doesn't really matter. I didn't even mention the fact that the Sleep of Trouble bubble is negated by the Black Shield, which is another good interaction. Okay. I don't know about... Oh, they just give it. Oh, okay, fine. Sure. Okay. So that was a whole bunch of hoopla for just giving them the objective. Okay, fine. Haunter ends up... He's actually now back in line with Licorice. So, interesting. You look at the disparity. What has Licorice been doing? He's 126 at 15.
You can see still pushing ahead for Cloud9. Then and Vulcan sharing those turret plates, trying to work their way through with Crescendo. That thing just
119 at 14. So he actually has missed a full wave somewhere based on because of the previous kill that happened bottom. Okay. 126. Still not doing anything. 15.
And then any kills you get on top of that, you get to the 10, you get the big bonus.
Okay,
Over
he's
the
gotten
so
a wave and a
this is the
half.
kind of confidence booster where I like to see people actually upgrade it
Last minute.
and really go for the attempt at taking over the game, especially since super long range scatter the weeks popping already.
Meanwhile, Scion
Any
is
kills you get on top of that, you get to the 10, you get the big bonus, and you go
basically
so this is
funneling.
the kind of
He's.
confidence booster where I like to see people actually upgrade it.
I think he's freezing. Actually, that's actually what happened. He accumulated. He reaccumulated the gold that he lost in lane. By Licorice kind of not being able to walk into Syndra, and also, well, these lane assignments are a little weird, I guess. Maybe that's the big issue. But Sign was also freezing topside, so he ends up coming back. They always freeze that specific spot.
The North American mid lane talent. Demonte is a level 11 with 7, because as you're saying, Demonte
There's no way that they can't think, okay, there are other places we can do it. There's no way.
Now, if you upgrade it into the
They have to know that they can do it everywhere on the map.
And then any kills you get on top of that, you get to the 10, you get the big bonus.
It's always there. It's always, they always freeze right here. At top side tier 2.
Should probably be able to live in the next few fights and has a decent amount of range. You get the super long range scatter the weeks.
Blue side team never freezes. They can't. Red side team, top side tier 2. Every time. If someone freezes, top side tier 2. It's like clockwork. It's really weird. It's not super significant. I mean, it is significant because every advantage is important, but
honestly, if you're going Guardians go up against Cloud9 in this game, I think you're happy about the way the first 17 minutes of the game has played out. You're up a kill, you're down a little bit in terms of the gold, but hey, you got both breaks already.
so Rift Herald is coming. I mean, they're gathering mid, and I don't know. Okay, yeah, and then they just give up. They give up. All right. Cool.
Get a Scion ultimate up the river, maybe? I'm waiting for the big choo-choo. We're talking about the train here from Golden Guardians, and it definitely has a pretty big.
I feel like at this, you can know that you're going to or not going to contest an objective before the objective happens. Like, what world do they, like, okay, we're all 4 mid. What world do we have where we contest this? Where do we go? And then, like, is it the world where they just let us walk into the river and take the vision? When they can clearly see us and they're right there? They were late to the area. They gathered basically to match Cloud9, but Cloud9 had the objective. And now the Scion and Set is completely matched together.
When she gets to continue throughout these bubbles over the wall, generally find these angles on you, and when she's in place first. If she joins the fights later, as we've seen, with a double teleport down bottom side, right into the thick of it once they've already started, it's much more difficult to get that big value out of your paddle star that requires setup, out of your sleepy trouble bubbles that require walls to get the full lane.
I really like the playmaking available right now for Huhi in his inventory as well.
So it ends up being that the fight that I didn't really seem to understand at bottom, which could have just been Closer walking up to the tower and going, all right, you can't dive. You're not gonna dive Hanser. Ends up it ended up turning the top side into now fairly even because of what it did to Licorice. Okay, who he's just randomly walking into people. It's fine. Alright. Decent dragon setup. Okay. Alright, they just go in. Alright, yep, the people who go in died. Yeah. Now you don't have junglers, so we're just gonna how are you gonna even more than 50-50 this?
That's a lot right there, and Licorice will fall here too. Cloud9, they end up giving away 2 kills in the back end of the fight, but they will
That's not worth.
That's
That's really super not worth. Now they just get free Baron. It's I don't know what world they think that they get away with this. Obviously the world where they've gotten away with a lot worse. But let's look. The closer goes in, and they kill Vulcan, who doesn't actually end up using his ult. Really unfortunate. Licorice goes in. He uses the showstopper to go in. So the Set and the Volibear ults are down. Scion is also in there somewhere. Where is he? He's right here. Did he steamroll in? Is that what happened? And then he got pushed back by Set. Okay.
The rest of the squad. Licorice looking for a chance to maybe get involved here over the wall. He would have to go. His flash is ready. Drake at 2/3 now resetting. Golden Guardians is half HP.
Okay. Who he takes the sleepy trouble bubble. Haunter and Closer both go in.
On Huhi. Closer goes into the back line.
They immediately kill Vulcan without him being able to do anything because he was stunned because he tried to walk in. Which is really difficult into Syndra and Morgana. And then Licorice ends up taking a lot of damage. Damonte almost dies to Zoe alone.
Sven has so much ammo here to work with. The range of that Aphelios is just so damn deadly, especially with the crescendo.
Importantly, Damonte's teleport is actually really key to this play.
Licorice and Blabber in the pit. Closer is dead. There is no smite seal this time around.
Wait, where did he TP to?
So much ammo here to work with. The range of that Aphelios is just so damn deadly, especially with the.
Oh, he TP to the vision ward, to the control ward behind behind Zoe. I feel like he just completes that back. I don't know why he stayed. Yeah, that's just very unworth. That's just not worth it at all.
From stacking towards the soul.
Damonte, he recalled and teleported back in behind Niski and Cloud9. What a big brain move from Damonte. They bait him on the dragon. Yes, they put a stop to the stacking. They put a delay on the Ocean Soul. But at what cost? It's Barret Flowers. Spoiler. That's the cost. Remember, Damonte wasn't on a team at the beginning of this year, by the way. Tanner time showing everybody exactly why they should be making sure they're setting where their watch is, because Damonte is making things happen right now in this game. Let's take another look. Yeah,
Cloud9 are playing very, 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 very greedy. Also, their composition doesn't necessarily work into Morgana Syndra.
Niski just blew Damonte up. His Seraph shield was actually late, didn't absorb any damage, and so now you're just looking at his recon and saying, oh my goodness, he's out of it. They won the dragon fight, right? But he teleports right back in.
So they actually end up getting what they wanted, I guess. Then they lose literally everyone for it. So. Okay. Actually, let's just look at the Baron setup. Okay. Baron's dead. What are the lanes? Okay. Pushed in. It's going to be pushed in mid. There has to be a response mid. There has to be a response top. I think that you can actually let bottom accumulate. I actually can't tell where bottom is because there is a whole bunch of graphics on my there's a YouTube stuff on my screen. So okay, that's actually a little easier. It's mostly towards Cloud9. Helios doesn't really
making sure they're setting where their watch is, because Damonte is making things happen right now in this game. Let's take another look. Yeah, let's take another look, because he does get chunked out. Now Closer goes ham, jumps right in. He knows he has a stopwatch, but
what you can do is you get someone topside, you push it in, you get 4 people mid, and then you have one person go trail down bottom and have a 1-3-1 after you kill 2 towers. That's their play. Because it prevents Aphelios from just getting bottom tier 1 for free for no reason. And you end up being able to equalize the push with that. So that's the play. Let's see what they actually end up doing. There's a oh god, I hit 0. Okay. They end up not responding at all to bottom. What did they do? What? They push mid, walk top, have no one go bottom. They actually... Okay, so they don't actually need to respond necessarily to bottom side. Also, it's dangerous because of the way that... because of the vision that's on. So there, it's actually black here. This is Golden Guardians can't see past this yellow on this side, so everything in here they cannot see. So, well, I mean, I guess they can see these two, but they can't actually get past here. They know that someone pushed bottom, but they can't necessarily just walk over there. So the plan might have been to do what I said, but then they were forced into coming and going top because of the position that Blabber and Licorice had. Flash because of the Fog of War.
Early Ocean Soul, but for getting Baron 23 minutes in the game, I think that is a perfectly fine trade. Look at the total gold right now.
I don't necessarily know exactly how the Cloud9 position themselves to allow that to happen, but and they actually end up trading the 4 for the 1, which allows them to push down the tower because Cloud9 were locked to mid lane, or because they were behind here, so they had a further walk, and with Baron they just absolutely demolished towers. And then they just all gather as 5 on mid, and then this also works. So this actually is well, it's a good use of their Baron. It's actually really good use.
He's just waiting for somebody to show up. Head straight down bottom lane.
He's so ready, and I am so ready to see it. As Golden Guardians will pick up the last standing objective outside.
I mean, yeah, you would definitely take, what was that, 5 towers? 5 towers for Baron is, I think, pretty good Baron power play. And they back. Baron's gone.
But there's a reason why everyone goes after it. It's easy and it's delicious. All the gold picked up here. They get the full reset. Look at these items coming in. Another stopwatch. This one for Demonte. Oh man, he still didn't upgrade.
1 minute to Dragon.
Put in another request. You really want this PM book, don't you? You're really all about this. It's actually so good right now. He has a stopwatch and his flash, so I feel like they're definitely going to win the next fight as well. On top of it, and it gives a very big boost of power. He's got 10 stacks already. You just get the conversion basically. Now we're seeing a flank though. Speaking of big power spikes, FBI who just got his death dance, so he's feeling.
And then they get counter engaged on for no reason because they went in for no reason. I mean, I understand why, because the dragon was spawning soon, right? But this doesn't need to happen. Oh, he even actually gets the knock up because of the Black Shield. Wait, who did Vulcan ult? Oh, just be normal.
Now we're seeing a flank though.
Okay. So he should have been able to get the Black Shield earlier, but that's neither here nor there, I guess. Okay. He ults Closer as he walks in. You'll actually notice something. This is very important. What is Sven doing for the majority of this fight? Does he walk in? Oh, he gets one auto? And then they walk into him, and now he's getting his autos off. But now he just flashed away. Oh, that's unfortunate. Oh, that's weird. FBI is hitting the Raptors. This is still precarious. They trade supports, but actually Huhi is a very valuable support. So you might be willing to just give this up. Even though you have a gold lead, all the dragon does give you 25 gold. Oh, they do it. Wait. They didn't do it. Cloud9 have started up the break. They have their jungler nearby. Okay.
Blabber is ready to go. Closer is also here. Haunter down to about 15% HP is not in any condition to fight this one. Drake secured.
Yeah, they didn't need to just. They had no reason to just stare and almost die and die and give 900 gold to Blabber.
Golden Guardians in full retreat now.
They didn't need to do that.
They weren't able to contest the Drake, and Cloud9 comes out on top.
Cloud9 just bring this game back right from the brink of destruction. Flowers. That was power spikes from Golden Guardians off of their purchase after that Baron.
They didn't need to do that. That's the LCS that Cloud9 knows and loves. They're in such a good position, and now it's much closer, and actually it benefits Cloud9 more because now they have significantly delayed the power of the Ocean Soul, if it's even going to come up at all. and they have the scaling champions. They have similar Okay, well, they're just randomly fighting. What is this? They have similar compositions. In terms of their carries. Now, Kalista can actually be more aggressive than Aphelios. In terms of her positioning, in terms of her ability to get into fights. But based on the fact that Aphelios is gonna get two people to freely shoot at the beginning of a fight, well, kind of, to a certain degree. I mean, basically, this is just Aphelios and Zoe doing what they can, and then the rest of the team just kind of being uh, not dead weight, but not necessarily as useful as Zoe and Aphelios. Whereas because Golden Guardians are in a winning position, they're able to use these aggressive champions, these two diving champions, more effectively. Like if the roles were reversed, the exact same thing starts happening, where Kalista just feels useless. She can't really do anything. She's flashing away from things, and you have Blabber running in there. You have Licorice slamming people in, and it's just and Vulcan being able to do whatever he wants. So I mean, it's that's why I think that they're kind of similar, because the way that they end up playing fights is basically the same. And then they get a kill on Blabber immediately using Hanser. It was actually really valuable, so that's actually well played. Not random, I guess. I don't know if he could have. Actually, that was actually well played based on the position that Cloud9 put themselves in, because Blabber and Sven were going to be in the line, and one of them has to take the ult. Who would you rather have take the ult? Probably Blabber. He can survive it, but he can't survive for very long. Nothing they can really do.
The train finds another one. Monster went straight down mid lane. Blabber tried to throw himself in front of the train, but you can't stop the train with that. And no, they still got ran over.
That's actually a really good use of the Scion ultimate.
Aphelios is probably the big thing they're worried about. That's why Cloud9 were able to win the last fight around.
So here's where the Scion's actually coming into fruition. Obviously, because he's a scaling tank champion, now is the point where it's like, all right, now he's really geared up. He's actually really, really strong and useful.
Very promising for this team as we're in the final stretch of the regular season with only 2 weeks of games left to play here, including this week. Every game, every win counts, and Golden Guardians are looking to take that win here against.
Whereas with Set, I mean, you have to run in there. Scion at least has the ultimate, the pain train. Not what it's called, but okay. Not really making too good of use of this. Oh, game's over. Oh, wait. Wait, what did FBI do? Wait. Why didn't FBI pull out his spears? Okay, Hanser isn't taking any damage from Licorice. He's actually Licorice is actually hurting himself because of the Baron minions. Actually, really hurting himself. Okay. Turns off the tower. Oh, he was airborne and then he lost. Okay. FBI got CC'd and then he couldn't use his he couldn't pull back the spears.
Nobody's dead, but health bars are low on both Vulcan and Niski and Licorice, so they have to retreat a little bit further.
So that was a little sloppy by Golden Guardians for no particular reason. They also, by the way, still have a topside that they're just not pushing into Cloud9 for no reason at all. So the previous Baron, good. This Baron, much less optimal. They really could have. Oh my gosh. They really could have actually. Demonte actually really, I think is the biggest. He's definitely the MVP of this game for Golden Guardians. Obviously, I know that Golden Guardians wins, but I think he's actually really instrumental in this game.
That paddle star looked like a cannon minion auto attack. It hurt half
He was
of
doing a
Monster's
lot in
shield.
the
It
mid
doesn't
and
do anything, and the man
these
is
stages of the
all
game.
armor too. That is how strong this Scion is at this point in the game, and Zoe
Okay.
is just not finding the damage she would like to find. Closers on the
This actually,
Drake. Golden Guardians have lost the last 2 Drakes.
I don't know how much of this is interview time.
Lost 3, lost 4, trying to get this next one here to get a
Okay,
little bit of their
so
mojo
I mean the
back.
game ends
He's
within
able to
7
find
minutes.
some nice burst, but it's red team.
Wait, what? What happened?
Just not finding the damage she would like to find. Closers on the Drake. Golden Guardians have lost the last 2 Drakes in a row. They got the first 2, lost 3, lost 4, trying to get this next one here to get a little bit of their mojo back. Niski over the wall finds some nice burst, but it's red team. Your Golden Guardians,
I guess because they couldn't really land anything on FBI, and there was already so many spears in the dragon that they were just said, alright, we have to back off.
Available on Golden Guardians. It is
Which is fair.
Demonte who's able to get
Did they just
Try
use...
to pop in there. Niski,
Oh boy.
Well, they used Shirelia's. I don't know what who he just activated Shirelia's for. I guess it gets them faster to their locations, marginally. Okay, so they get Inhibitor Tower. They're actually making better use of not Baron than Baron. So many minions, by the way, lost on both sides for top side.
Sven is that late game insurance policy. You talked in draft as soon as you saw the Aphelios versus Kalista matchup about how Kalista's going to take over early. It's about playing around the Drakes early on. We saw Golden Guardians do that, but now we're 33 minutes into the game. Now we're getting into Aphelios territory. Will we see all 200 years, or will the Golden Guardians lead be sufficient to close this game out? Sleepy Trouble level will not find anybody. Some Aphelios damage again, just not potent enough.
It's just an ingenious slow push by Golden Guardians.
They've got the late game Aphelios. They want to go keeping Sven in as safe a position as possible. Slowly move forward, just hitting the targets in front of you. He has his Last Whisper already, and you mentioned, with the extra
Okay, someone finally takes up those minions.
Kind of a difficult situation because unless Demonte threads the needle and gets a very long range stun,
Significantly fewer minions than
it's actually kind of hard for them to blow those summoner spells because the Golden
was
Guardians
available there, but it's fine.
It's very tank heavy with full tank quality there and Scion who has a hard time getting past anybody or anything.
Technically speaking, Golden Guardians prevented a funnel of gold for Cloud9 for a bit there, so maybe there's value in that. I don't know if there's actually that good value when you had Baron and you could have pushed up and then a fight for no reason. What is this? What? Not quality. Quality stays.
More creative with
What is going on?
vision control and control over the map that they have, since they've got the soul point coming up here.
Okay,
just lay down
this
your
is
support
the
leading up through
find.
this and try and find a way to upset the Cloud9 battle line so that they can't protect Sven. They can't fight the front to back. The whole time though, you gotta be dodging Zoe bubbles.
Okay. Oh, they got a pillar on Demonte, so Blabber flash or goes in and dies immediately. Oh, Stoneplate and his ulti survived. They still cannot kill Demonte. They actually kill Vulcan on the other side of the fight using Kalista. Sven is not allowed to free fire because he doesn't have the mobility that FBI has, as well as who he is in the way. Ben is being as aggressive as he can. He does not have the optimal guns for this, even though he does have Crescendum. Alright. They can't kill him. They just can't kill him. Alright. That's Closer just ends up chasing down Blabber and the game's over.
Blabber uses the blast cone to get over the wall, but that does not matter, Kobe. The death timers are long enough on Cloud9, and Golden Guardians is marching for the win. Closer will
None of this matters. Could you please? Alright, thanks. Okay. The Cloud9, I guess, just decided the game was too long for their taste, and they just ended it. I don't know what that was about. I mean, they're thinking, and this is something that I saw in the TSM game. Like, they're probably thinking this is the best fight we're gonna get. They're in this really bad state, and their logic is probably, what are we gonna get a better fight? Are we gonna get a better than pillared Demonte having to flash over? But then it's like he flashed over. Blabber is no longer able to defend anyone or protect anyone. There's actually really no real protection on Cloud9 to help Ben and Niski do what they want to do. Niski's not really able to hit anyone with his, not his bubbles, with his whatever the Q is called, Paddle Star, prior to the fight, because everyone was full health. So I don't know if this is actually the best fight that they could get. I mean, they're already in such a bad position. I probably doesn't actually matter, but you gotta make. I honestly feel like Golden Guardians should have to work for it. I mean, Cloud9 basically just gave them the game, which is really unfortunate. So, I mean, their scrappiness is interesting. We saw it in the early game, even in positions where it's like you don't necessarily think that an objective is theirs, they still go for it. And if things work out slightly better for them, maybe they don't end up in this weird position. But they're also very greedy, very, very greedy. They were actually in an okay position, Cloud9, but then they put themselves in a worse position as the game went on. Like here, okay position, okay position. Okay, let's go back. So right before here,
Golden Guardians, despite Licorice's heroic
this is the play that Cloud9 actually ends up benefiting from, because they're actually 1k up after this play.
the end, they quickly finished
So
off
despite the
without
kills
the
going
first, bonus gold on top of it.
going over,
People out there who might not be aware, remember Aphelios with
Golden Guardians aren't
the one
actually in the lead.
30% CDR from just the items
Then
right now.
Cyan actually
Early
gets to
game
set up a
mage items like
freeze.
Lock, chapter line, so criminally effective at stacking those
Cloud9 were unwilling to play for this dragon.
Right now, early game mage items that
Comes in with
Lock,
Knight's
chapter line,
Vow
so criminally
for
effective
Sven.
at stacking those CDR
So I mean, you clearly actually you see the logic of the we need to protect Aphelios, but then it's not being done in the draft. They're not being given those tools in the draft. So he sees, okay, we need to protect Aphelios. He's getting the Knight's Vow to do that. Then he's not being allowed to do that necessarily, because the champions just aren't there for Aphelios to work like that. I mean, this dragon is whatever. Not that big of a deal losing it. Okay, well, again, the wobbly camera at 2 times speed is disorienting. I think it's actually probably just is fine at 1 times. Game's still okay. The gold lead is actually diminishing because of the freeze that's happening on top side, and no one's looking to break it. I mean, Zoe's literally just like Niski's just floundering up on top side, just like, what do I do? I actually can't do anything. But he's not calling anyone to help. In fact, his team is actually going onto towards Demonte.
Syndra, he does have his flash available. Should probably be able to live in the next few fights and has a decent amount of range. You get the super long range scatter the weeks popping off, and
which just benefits Sion even more. So the gold lead, so here it is. The gold lead is diminishing because of the top side difference going away. I still think that Cloud9 is okay in this spot, but they're making really weird. They make some really weird mistakes. We go along. We don't need to be at 1 times. Okay, this is fine. Herald is fine because they end up just getting it for free. So where does Cloud9 really make the mistake? It's on the overstay for this dragon. Is it this dragon or this? It might be the one after this one. Okay, everything's fine. It's fine use of the Herald. Okay, Niski's not really doing too much. I mean, he's doing okay. It's fine. Okay, they're actually a threat. They actually get a decent fight going. It's not super bad. Cloud9 have the jungler, so they should be okay or they should feel okay. Zoe no longer has mana, no longer really has any health. I feel like they might have been able to play this better by having Sven maybe coming closer. So right here, there's probably an argument to be made that if Sven is actually in the pit, he can flash over the wall if he needs to leave. I want to see where he ends up actually moving backward. Which is probably his thinking is, well, there's no one behind us. But then Demonte ends up coming in from behind. That was a really good TP. And then Sven is cutting this way instead of being in the pit. I mean, this is one of those things. Is like hindsight is what's helping me know this. At the time, I don't think he sees any other play, and I don't think it's reasonable to expect anything different from him. But then the greed for the dragon is really what caused the game to spoil. Because after the dragon, they get a 5,000 gold lead from the Baron because they had 5 towers on top of Baron. So really, I mean, it's just the greed for this dragon. I think Demonte really was the reason that this worked out for Golden Guardians. Demonte's teleport was really good. So then this happens. Pretty bad for Cloud9.
The last standing objective outside of the enemy base. They have 25 seconds left on the Baron buff. They're not going to utilize that to try to low-hanging fruit. All of the towers outside of the enemy. Those are delicious. Yeah. People make fun of you for taking a low-hanging fruit, but it's actually so good right now. He has to stop. Well, Vulcan trying to get away, but he won't be able to do. Feel like they're definitely going to win the next fight as well.
And then Cloud9 are in this weird. I mean, this is what I've noticed before. They're a scrappy team. They're willing to take fights, but then this is just not the fight. I mean, the composition just doesn't lend itself to being behind. So there it is. I'm in Rojo. I don't know what I don't know what I was gonna do with that hand. Bye. Left click.